I'll just start off with sharing my screen. Yeah. I hope my screen is visible.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, guys, we'll be working and studying this course basis on business analytics. So, first of all, let us just get familiar with some terms. What do you call as an analytics? What is analytics for you? So, we'll try to keep this session a two-way session so that we just go in and grab some knowledge and do this knowledge transfer. So, what is analytics as per you?
Maybe for business related activities like finance analysis, we
Mm-hmm.
can calculate the future planning about how the things we are going in the finance, or maybe material, maybe our manufacturing. So I feel that is a kind of a detailed analysis things about to maintain segment wise hierarchy in the business, which I feel that I may be
Okay.
wrong.
No, 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 no. There is nothing wrong. So, anything else from anybody?
So, business analytics are the tools, the digital tools to say to you use to make sense of your data, to arrive at some decisions.
Yeah. So, we do financial analysis, we do the n number of analysis, but the crux of analytics is a data. So, data, if we say data is the gold mine from where we have to extract the things which can be useful to take business decisions. Now this data is present in many forms. This thing just happened to me today only. I had my old laptop. So this laptop was an old, very old, 7 years old laptop. It had only 2 GBs of RAM. My phone's RAM is more than the RAM of my laptop now. This was a 4 GB laptop. And then I was just working on it and it just stopped working. And the issue was it was getting slower, and the reason that it was getting slow was the data was getting accumulated into this because I use it for n number of things at my personal level as well as my professional level. So this thing, this data, which we don't see, now this data is something which is all useful. You cannot just throw away any data. So you have to just keep this data along with you. And this leads this small details, this small data leads us to bigger decisions. Now you cannot say that this data is not good for me, this data is not bad for me. Now what we say when we do business analytics or when we do any kind of analytics, we say that there is nothing called as a bad data. It is just that the data is not being used rightly. So each and every data that is with you is of some use at some point of time. So we'll be discussing more about this analytics stuff, how the tools are there. We have a very common business analytics tool that is used in industry. We have MS Excel. MS Excel, which is been there from a very long time now. It is being used in many places. So that is one thing where we should be. Yeah, so that is one place where we should be very clear in our minds that anything which we have as a tool cannot get obsolete also. You can have newer tools. You can have tools like Power BI is there now. You can have some data drilling down tools, but the power of this MS Excel cannot be overridden. So we'll be starting with the very basics of the things. Now, if we talk about the data analytics, so we'll be first dealing with, just a sec. Yeah. So we'll be first dealing with, as you told me, that business analytics is in every space. We call it as business space. We have business analytics there. We have sports analytics. We have healthcare analytics. We do financial analysis. And now, government, as it is moving more towards the digitization, it is also, going closer to the analytics part. So, if we talk about analytics, analytics is now at the very grassroots level of every organization, be it in academics, be it in government sectors, be it in private sectors. Everywhere we have this business analytics. So, if we talk about the people who work on this business analytics, either they are called as analysts or sometimes we call them as data scientists. And why do we call them as data scientists? Because as scientists work on the science of things, they work on the science of data. They get out details from that data. They just, rectify that data, that whether this data is going to give me something that will be beneficial for me, my organization, and for the future of the organization, for deciding the costs, for deciding the factors that would lead to the business development, that would lead to the crux of things. So we call those people as data scientists. So these data scientists work on different levels. We have some analysts which have some data which get out something out of it. Now then there are data scientists which involve machine learning and artificial intelligence into their data, and they just train a system to give them insights beforehand so that they can take well informed data driven decisions. So when we talk about analytics, so basically what the crux of analytics is, that analytics is a scientific process. This is a scientific process. This cannot happen like we just take up a data and just start reading it over. There has to be a scientific process behind everything. So this analytics is basically a scientific process that is used to examine the raw data, that the data that we have, and to draw meaningful insights from it. As one of you already told me, that we have to take informed decisions on the basis of the data, and that analytics helps us in doing that. So we'll be dealing with such things in the later part of the session also. Now, what's there in this session? What's there in this session for you? So we'll be explaining the basic concept of analytics. We'll be learning that what are the types of this analytics, and then we'll be also exploring what are the areas where this analytics is being used. Okay. Now, the way there are basically, if we drill down analytics as whole, we have basically four distinct type of analytics. Now, anybody of you who knows what are those four types before we just drill down? Anybody of you who knows what are the four types of analytics? Okay. Somebody has written descriptive, predictive. Yeah, derivative. Continuous and discrete. Yeah. Informative analytic. Yes. Prescriptive is there. Yeah, prescriptive is there. So yeah, more often we have, yeah, discovery is there also. So more often we have many types of analytics, but we basically divide the analytics into four main components, and these are basis on the four W's. The four W's of the analytics. The first one being that we have descriptive analytics, right? We have diagnostic analytics, we have predictive analytics, and we have prescriptive analytics. So these are the four broader areas, and the rest, the continuous, the discrete ones, these just sum up into these branches. So basically, if we talk about analytics, we have four areas. four distinct type of analytics. Now, when we say about what four distinct types are there, so the first type is descriptive. Now, when we say descriptive, it is basis on the first W. And this first W tells us that what has happened. So, what has happened tells us that what already basis on some raw data, basis on some previous data, we just drill down into the data and we just get insights from it. And that is my descriptive analytics. We just tell that this data is with me and this data is telling me XYZ things. So that is descriptive analytics. The second W of analytics is why did this thing happen? So that is diagnostic analytics. Now let's say we are from academics. So we have a data of students who are scoring some subjects. So you just get to the root level that this particular student is not scoring well in this subject. So why he is not scoring good in that subject? What are the underlining factors? What are the outliers? So that will tell us through the diagnostic analytics. Then the third part is the third W, that is what could happen. That is predictive analytics. So what we do is we extrapolate the data. What we do is we extrapolate the data. Let's say I have a data for 1 week, and basis the trends of 1 week, I just extrapolate this thing to n number of weeks, and I just start predicting the future. So I just start predicting what could happen. So this is the third W, the third W of the analytics. The fourth and the very important W, for which most of the analysts are being paid very high, is that what should happen. Now, this analytics, the prescriptive one, is telling us that what should happen. That I have this data now, I have the previous history, I have the previous trends, I have the records, I have everything. So now, what possibly should happen if I do this thing or if I make this kind of change? You know, so basically, we have four things: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. And these are basis on four W's. And the four W's are what happened, why did that happen, what could happen, and what should happen. So let us drill a bit more deeper into this with an example. Now, as I told you that let's say we all are from academics area, and today we are sitting here and I just make up a data that these number of people were here who were attending this session, and I was here giving this session to you. So basis on this data and basis on, let's say we have a test at the end of this session, which we are not going to have, but let us just assume that we have it. So, and you score some good scores into that test. So the first thing when I am getting this data sheet, so the first thing which descriptive analytics will tell me, it will tell me who were the people who were there, what was their gender, from which background they were, you know, who was at what level of study, like some of our BCA students, MCA student, academicians. This I can drill down from the descriptive analytics. It will describe me what my data set was and what it could offer me. Now, if I wanted to know what kind of people are joining these business analytics workshops, that would be my diagnostic analytics. That, okay, I see a trend that majorly people who are working in academics, and that too into data driven academics, where they have to maintain a data, where they have to drill down some points from the data, where they have to analyze something, those are attending this workshop. So this could be my diagnostic analytics. So why these people joined? Because they want to know that what new things are going into the data analytics. Then there is the third one, who are predictive analytics. So now I can predict that if I make a future session on data analytics, which audience should I target? So I should directly go to the colleges and ask the management that your faculty who wants to learn this kind of data can just join in the sessions. So now I have something which is very clear. that this is my target audience and here I have to pitch in the things. Then finally, we have prescriptive analytics. Now, from the same data, I can also prescribe to somebody that what should happen, that what is the sole output of giving this business analytics thing is that people who are from XYZ areas would come and join your sessions. So this is prescriptive analytics. And basis this prescriptive analytics, I can also decide on that what audience I have and what the audience seeks from the session. Now, this is prescriptive. Here, I need to make some changes. I need to make some assumptions. I need to make some hypotheses. And those hypotheses and assumptions would lead me to different things that should happen basis the previous track of these things. Now, let's go a bit more deeper into this. If we talk about descriptive analytics, so basically the descriptive analytics, this gives me something which is called as chunks. It breaks up the data into smaller parts. I have a bigger data set. I just divide it into smaller chunks. And those smaller chunks are grouped together, and those groups will tell me what I need to drill down from the data. So basically, it gives me what? Chunking out of the information and a brief synopsis of the overall data. Another, what descriptive analytics tells me, like we just took an example, it will tell me what my segment is, the segment basis which I am working, what that segment is, what the gender is, what the areas is, that where from you are. Let's say if some of you would be from Delhi, some of you would be from Karnataka, some of you would be from Mumbai, Mysore, anywhere. So I can just know what geographies are interested. You can just mold it in any ways. Analytics is so good that you can mold it in any ways. You can know what geographies are there which want to learn analytics. So basis this, if I was doing a bigger session, so it would be like, say there are 20, there are some states in our country. I could say that this particular state is more focused in starting analytics. So these are the smaller datas that we get out, and these are the insights we get out, and these are the insights which are helpful for pitching up products, for pitching up, communications. We can know the region, the income, the age, occupation, whatever, through the descriptive analytics. So descriptive analytics is primarily basis on data. What the data is going to tell you, you are just going to take a brief synopsis and work on. Next, we have the diagnostic analytics. It helps us to dig deeper, as we said, just to dig deeper into the things and then to understand why did this thing happen? What was the sole motive that this particular thing happened? Let's say there was a unit where we saw some inconsistencies. So why those inconsistencies happened? This could be drilled down from the diagnostic analytics. Now, the third one is predictive analytics. So usually predictive analytics is basis on the Boolean functions. It gives me the results in zeros and ones, yes and no's. So those yeses and no's, I just feed them into some system, and those systems would generate some predictions for me. So I'll just predict the analytics. This is predictive analytics. Let's say what, sorry, let's say I'll take my own industry example. So, we all have mobiles. We all do recharges on those mobiles. We do n number of things on those mobiles. And the sole thing to get this mobile running is paying a bill or just getting a recharge. Now, when we go on our side of analytics, we have a report called as a recharge report. What we study from that recharge report is we study the recharge to expiry, which is known as the R2E, right? Recharge to expiry. Let's say today I had around 1,000 numbers which were going to expire. And technically, I should get 1,000 numbers recharged also. right? But there would be some additional numbers that would be there, which were recharging or which today got installed or something like that. So this R2E in telecom sector for a successful business model should be 100% minimum. Otherwise, you're in loss. Your customer is going away. He's not recharging. Now, if he's not recharging, then you start flowing communications. So understand, these are all the things basis these analytics are linked. These are all linked. Firstly, I just checked. I got a report that last 7 days, I should have the expiries as this. I got the data as this. So there was some odd 500 numbers that did not recharge. Why did they not recharge? So we just put up a communication to them. So your recharge is going to expire. Your recharge is not there. Kindly do the recharge, or we just do cold calling to them, start getting the inputs why they are not recharging. Is there something that is stopping them from recharging? We get the things, and basis that data, we sometimes predict the future also. That, let's say, last 7 days have been a good recharge month. Okay. And particularly on Saturdays, the recharge is down. For the next week, we saw again the first 6 days of the first 5 days were good recharge days. And then the sixth day, the Saturday, was a down slope. So we know that this is a trend of this particular place. So predictive analytics, basically, when we do predictive analytics, we do it at a particular place. We do it for a particular crowd because it cannot be generalized. Every customer set, every data set will be different. So this is when the knowledge, this is when the, when the knowledge plus when the gut feeling of the analyst, we don't use this word basically. When we are dealing with data, we have to be very process oriented. But sometimes, sometimes we have to touch those instinct points also. That, I believe that this data is showing me that there is a dip, but this data is also backing up with n number of reasons that this recharge could get up on this Saturday. So this is something that we do in predictive analytics. There are callings, there are meetings after that, that why this recharge dropped, what was the reason. But the crux is that the data is there. The data is telling us that the previous trends have been this and the future trends will be this. Finally, we have the fourth type, that is predictive analytics, right? Now, if we say predictive analytics, it is uh, the opposite basically of descriptive. Descriptive tells you the data is saying this, and prescriptive, we prescribe that this thing will happen. So the final type, when we talk about the here, the prescriptive one, sorry. So we prescribe the things. We prescribe that basis on my previous data, I see the trends going like this. So you should make this change to get your things on the right track. Now, how this happens is, let me take a very brief example. That, let's say I am going to sell an ice cream in an area. So what I'll do is I'll just see previous trends. What brand of ice creams is already prevalent there? What people are doing? What kind of ice cream they like in this particular locality? And basis that data and basis the previous trends, the historic data, we start taking up the leads. That, okay, I can prescribe you that the 10 people in this area are eating chocolate ice cream, and there are just 2 people who are eating an orange ice cream. So a good proposition there is to prescribe them that you should open an ice cream shop which mainly deals with the chocolate ice cream. So these kind of data, this kind of analysis on the data, the drilling down of the data helps the customers to get what they want and to help the businesses provide what the customers want. And this is how the business grows in many areas. Now, when we talk about these prescriptive, descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, these analytics are being used somewhere. Now, the very first area where these analytics are being used, it is called as customer analytics. So even if you are from academics, your students are your customers there. You will want that you analyze those students on different aspects, though that is a different type or the different area where the analytics is used. But those students are your customers, and those customers you need to treat right. So, what customer analytics do is organizations take critical decisions, and basis those critical decisions and data driven decisions, we communicate things to the customer. Like I told you in the R2E, we saw 500 customers not recharging. We put up a communication and we put up the communication to the people. And this is how the things just go on. Second is financial analytics. You understand the financial executives, they take business related questions, the business related problems, and then they just decide onto the forecasts. So, okay, I decide that this is my, the money, the asset, and this asset is going to mature in n number of days. So where should I put this asset? These are my returns, these are the risks related to those returns, and I just go forward to it. Another is performance analytics. This is very, very critical in today's area, be it academics, be it corporates, be it anywhere, because daily data managing, strategy planning for business budgeting, any related service that the business offers is being driven by the people. So we need to be very, very critical about how my system, my people, my system, my processes are performing. So we need to make it up that we need to do a performance analytics. A performance analytics is basically which is done on a system, on a person, on a strategy, that how it is performing, right? Be it a data or technology, be it a business performance, be it a personal performance of an employee, you know, we work on different areas. So when I was in my, some 2 years back, I was working on this performance analytics, and we just found out in a research that you know companies were recruiting wrong people for the wrong job. It's very important. It's not just important to hire people, it's important to hire the right person at the right place, right, and at the right time also. So what companies were doing, they were hiring good people. The people were not bad, but they were hiring them for wrong roles. And when we just did and drill down with some performance analytics onto that chunk of data set of those employees, we got to know that while making some internal changes within the system, like they had 3 departments and they had, say, 10 odd people, and those were placed in those departments. While just making changes, one person shifted from one department, other person shifted to other department, we could see that their organizational throughput as well as the personal throughput of that person increased. And this was primarily because they did a good analysis of the performance and also the process, right? So this is what performance analytics helps us with. Now, if we see that every business that we deal with is associated with some kind of a risk. There is no business that does not involve risk. There could be calculated risk, but there is risk. So when we talk about the dynamic business environment that we are working in, which is changing at a rapid pace, and the risk rate is very high. I belonging to the telecom sector could tell you this, that if a report is delayed, this industry in telecom is so fast that you don't get time. You don't get time to take, you know, ages to take a decision. Sometimes we could have in academics that you could take days to decide onto a thing. You could take days to decide on a course, on a content of a course. you could take some time. But this telecom industry is so fast, and some, particularly some areas, there are slow areas also. Particularly some areas are so fast that if a report has to come by 12:30 and it comes by 12:32, that report is of no use because the whole data set has changed. So fast and so accurate that you get to know that what are the things that are going to happen in the next course of time. But at the same time, there is risk involved. There is risk analytics, there are risk analysts, which are primarily in financial organizations. In telecom, we have risk analysis, that what are the risks associated with this set of problem, what are the outliers, what can I do with this. Okay, so do I need, are my risks heavier than my profits, or are my profits heavier than my risks? So this is how we make informed decisions. Now, you know these things are very important to understand when we are dealing with analytics. And when we talk about especially telecommunications, we are very much concerned about the data being there as a support, and the data being there as a support on time. So the very first risk that is involved in telecom sector is a time, that we don't have that much of a time that we used to waste on waiting for a report. you know this is something that we need to understand, that data is being moved very fast. Now, what risk analytics, as we discussed, checks is it foresees the uncertainties, what the uncertainties are, and then we decide on the basis of those uncertainties that whether my project profits are higher or not, we take the project success or failure decisions. Now, we'll be starting up with something that is very basic for you all, which is known as MS Excel. So before we move on to those areas, before we move on to what the analytics can do, how we do analytics on a data, what different things are there, particularly basis the academics, and sometime we'll make up a small, I'll show you how to make a small dashboard that is important in today's time. We'll drill down into Google Analytics. But before moving there, if anybody has any sort of questions till this point of time, please feel free to ask. Yeah. So anybody who's having any questions till this point, or are we clear with the set of examples that we gave?
It's okay, sir.
Okay. So we have already gone through what analytics can do. You know, today we'll just keep it very brief so that we can have more time to explore our hands onto the main things. Now, let me just be very clear on this point, that Excel as a tool can be very useful for you if you use it the right way, and you cannot just foresee that what Excel can do as a magic for you. So before we start up with this, I'll just start showing you up with, I'll just share my screen.